Good evening. We're going to finish up this unit by looking at some real-life scenarios. All year long we've talked about linear equations. And if you remember, the slope-intercept form of linear equations is y equals mx plus b. M being your slope, b being your y-intercept. Now we're dealing with quadratic equations. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The difference between the two linear equations, when you graph them, you get a straight line. And if you remember, we talked about the four different slopes. You have positive slope, negative slope, you have zero slope, and up and down is undefined slope. With quadratic equations, we have the two types of parabolas. We have the parabolas that opens up as a frown, which is a maximum, and then the one that opens up as a smile, which is a minimum. So when you get real life situations, we need to graph, we need to enter the data into the calculator first, take a look at our points, and see what kind of line it's going to create or a curve. From that, we will find out if we have a linear equation or a quadratic equation. Once we can find that out, then we can go into the calculator and determine whether we have determine our linear equation or our quadratic equation. So, Unit 11, this is page 6 of the notes. It says the football is kicked into the air with an initial upward velocity of 82 feet per second. Its height is in feet. It is recorded at various seconds. T in the table below. So here's the time and here's the height. Now typically we're talking about a football. If you ever watch a football game, the balls get kicked and it goes far and then it comes down. So I think we're going to have a quadratic equation, but we're going to check. So what I do is, step number one, you're going to have your calculator and you're going to turn the calculator on. After you turn the calculator on, you're going to, first step is hit second and y equals, and we're going to turn our stat plot on. And you do that by hitting enter, enter. And what that does is it turns our stat plot on. That's step number one. Step number two, we're going to enter our data. You do that by hitting the stat button, and you're going to hit enter, and you should have columns here, and starting with L1 and L2. So you take your table and you enter your data in one number at a time. If you notice, I've already done that with both of my columns. Once you have entered your data, we're going to hit zoom 9 on our calculator. And what that does is it zooms in only to our data that we have put in. So I'm going to hit zoom, which is right here, and then number 9. And if you notice, I have a point here, and I have a point here, 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 and here. And if you notice, it does give me a curve. So my projection was right. We do have a quadratic equation. Now that we know that, we're going to calculate it. So we're going to hit stat, which is right here. And then you're going to go over to the right to calculate. And our two choices is 4 and 5. We have linear and we have quadratic. So we're going to pick number 5 for quadratic regression. And then in my calculator, I'm going to hit enter 5 times. Or enough until it gives me the equation. So hopefully you can see it. It's right here. There's your quadratic equation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace my A, B, and C with the actual numbers they gave me. So I've got y equals, A is negative 16, x squared, plus B is 82, x, and notice C is 0, and I don't need to write it down. Now part of the question is stated, all right, it's a linear quadratic, so we know it's quadratic. And so the equation here will be, let's see if you remember, negative 16x squared plus 82x. So y equals negative 16x squared plus 82x. Now it says, what is the height of the football after 5 seconds? So I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to plug it in where the x's are. So I would have negative 16 times 5 squared plus 82 times 5. And if you put that in your calculator, you will get, and I look at my handy sheet here, y equals, and notice again this is y, equals 10. So after 5 seconds, the height, which is recorded in feet, will be 10 feet. So that's how you figure out whether it's a quadratic or linear equation. And once you do, then you can find out in your calculator, write the equation out, and answer any questions corresponding to it. Now I want you to try number 7 and number 8 on your own and be ready to discuss it in class.